Tonight we are talking about Italian subs. What I want to do is kind of go through the construction. What prompted this is just this past weekend, I got together with another local person who does food reviews for online, and he posted his review of a place we checked out called Primal. Mine will be coming on Saturday. It's actually a really fun video. It's like almost 6 minutes. Very fun review, but there were some flaws to the Italian sub, and it got me thinking, what makes a good Italian sub? So that's kind of what I want to talk about tonight. This is all about Italian subs. Thank you so much for joining. If you are in the live chat, say hi in the live chat. I'd love to meet you if I have not already. Most of the people in the live chat so far are people I am very good friends with. So say hi. Now, what I want to do first, because I thought this was funny, I didn't realize that the Italian sub didn't originate anywhere that you would have thought it originated. You think about an Italian sub and you're like, okay, that must have come from New York City, right? Well, if you look at Wikipedia and you search Italian sandwich or Italian sub, and there's a reason why I'm talking about this, because it kind of ties into what my dad said about Italian subs, and we'll get back to my dad in just a second. But it's called a Maine Italian sandwich. Apparently, it was invented in Portland, Maine in 1903 by Giovanni Amato, a baker. It's known as a grinder or a sub in Boston, Massachusetts, and as a spucky in East Boston. That's a fun name. Go order one of those. But what's notable to me is that I don't know about what these guys are doing as far as what they're calling a sub, but I'll talk about what it says on it. It says a long bread roll or bun with meats such as salami, mortadella, capicola, and ham with provolone, tomato, onion, green bell pepper, Greek olives, olive oil or salad oil, salt, and cracked pepper. I don't know. For me, that seems a little bit fancier than what I would consider an Italian sub. So what I want to get to the bottom of tonight is what constitutes an Italian sub. So what's the bare minimum for something to be an Italian sub? If you ordered an Italian sub and you got something different, what would be your feelings around that? And then also what makes a good Italian sub? Because I think it's kind of important. So I'm going to go through a couple of the comments here. Hamburger tacos make an Italian sub, apparently. Maine sucks. Okay. You make an Italian sub and you wear it. Cousin Pat in the house, gabagool and Manhattan special, not exploded. That's funny. All right. So my dad owned a deli. He's owned multiple delis over his lifetime. He's retired now. But one of the things in my family is to be the original. Okay. Apparently he has a definition for what the original Italian sub was. And it's a little bit different than Maine. So he's saying the original Italian hero is prosciutto, capicolo, supersata, mortadella, sharp provolone, lettuce, tomato, onion, seasoned olive oil on brick oven bread. And he put the bread emoji in case bread was not legible. What do you guys think of that? What's the do you think that like if you ordered an Italian sub and they gave you that, would you be happy? I don't know. Me, I even put in the thumbnail for this fancy stuff, because to me, Italian sub is actually not that fancy. So here's for me the bare minimum of what constitutes an Italian sub. Long roll, has to be a long roll. It can't be brick oven bread. Like it can't be like that thick bread that you can't bite into, because once you get into that, it's too hard to eat. So it's got to be a little bit of a softer, but have a crust. Okay. You can hollow out the bread or not. Rory, apparently what constitutes an Italian sub is meat with hollowed out bread and some veggies on a sub. And we'll get back to that opinion in just a second. And the base for me is boiled ham, Genoa salami, sliced provolone cheese, lettuce, tomato, onions if you want it, oil and vinegar dressing. And for me, I always add hot peppers. The hot peppers are an optional thing. So I don't think dry oregano on its own goes on a sub. We got Avenger in the house. This is Jeff. He'd lead any sub no matter what on this. Sounds amazing. Okay. So let's talk first about the bread, because that's where I think I have the most opinions on this, because everything else is just deli stuff. You can't get too fancy with it. When you start adding prosciutto and capicolo and supersata, you're making something good, but you're making, to me, something way too advanced for what this is supposed to be. So the bread is always a long sub roll, grinder roll. I don't know where this grinder business came from or why they call it that, but it's a sandwich. It's a hero. That's kind of the whole thing. So that's number one. It's got to be seeded bread, right? Why wouldn't you want like a seeded, hero roll? I mean, they make them without it. It seems like in the Albany area here, it's kind of hard to find a decent bread that would be amenable to an actual Italian sub. I know that's a hot take. Yeah, I don't know why they call them wedges. That's a downstate, like Rockland County, which is right around where you are. Rockland or Yonkers is another place where they call them wedges. A guy I follow on YouTube here talks about the wedge and how that all came to be. All right, so we got the bread. Let me see if I can. I could show you a picture of the one that I had this weekend. It's going to be in the review, but I want to. Why not show you guys what it looked like? Share. So here it is. I don't want to go too far into it because I'm going to give away a little bit of what I talk about in the actual review for Saturday. But you could see there's kind of a bunch of little issues with this sandwich already. But you look at that bread. I would say that bread is probably the perfect shape and size. I wouldn't hollow it out personally, because for me, I think it needs to have kind of you have to taste bread when you eat that sandwich. There's got to be a lot of meat on it. So the bread has to kind of balance it out. And you need oil and vinegar. That needs to soak into something other than the vegetables. Yeah, I mean, you guys are kind of right on the money with that. Hoagies and grinders. So, all right. So that's the bread. And Rory actually said something earlier that is actually a really good point. Rory does make good points. He does. Where did it go? Everything goes on the slicer. So this is the thing. Whenever I see lettuce and tomato that's sliced too thick for a sub, it's kind of a dead giveaway. What I used to love about my dad's shop, one of the things I used to love about his shop is we used to do the lettuce and tomato on the slicer. It was an extra step. It was something in the morning that was really annoying to do, because those things are not really great to do as a task. And it just adds so much to the actual sandwich. There's something about slicing lettuce on a slicer and then piling it on the sandwich that just makes it so much better. So you got your bread, and I'm building this in the order that I would make it. You put your lettuce, your tomato. Personally, I like a little bit of onion on the sandwich. I don't want too much onion on it, but if I'm going to do onion, I'll always go with the onion. So lettuce, tomato, onion. Then you get your meats. Now, one of the things that people love to do upstate is just lay out slices like it's some kind of like building a tower. Now, the problem with that is we got my new friend here. Tomatoes on a slicer is excellent advice. Thanks. Yeah, I tomatoes on a slicer, it's so much easier than actually doing it with a knife. Cutting tomatoes thin with a knife is just almost impossible. When you lay out the slices like it's Subway, you don't get to taste it so much, especially when the slices are thick like that. It's just not good construction, right? So I always liked in my dad's store to cut the meat pretty thin for the ham especially, and then you would actually like make little mountains along the length of the bread. So I would do the ham, the salami, same way. Salami would get like one fold, but it would also be pretty thin. You could also do that little thing where you make kind of like a flower and put it across. And I know I'm getting into a lot of the technical details, but I think it's important because you saw that you saw this. There's not much to it other than, they just really just slapped it onto the bread, right? So apparently I'm getting ridiculous, which is fine. We're gonna bring some people on in just a minute and talk a little bit more about some of the particularities of the Italian sub. All right, so we got our bread, we got our lettuce, tomato. Oh, the dressing always for me goes over the lettuce, tomato, and onion if you got it. And the dressing is another thing. It can't just be oil and vinegar, okay? It's got to have some kind of herbs to it. So like in the store, we used to make like a red wine vinegar, a mixture of like red wine vinegar, white vinegar, salad oil, a little bit of olive oil, I think was in there. And then some oregano, garlic, just to give a little bit of taste. And I know a lot of people like to do dry oregano on the sandwich. I know Rory had mentioned it earlier. It can't, it's got to be, you got to have some kind of seasoning to it. We got some disagree. I'm good with you guys disagreeing. I'm not the ultimate resource here, and especially people make their subs all different ways, so that's all good. All right, so you got your meats and then the cheese, provolone cheese. Now I don't go for anything fancy like a sharp provolone because it just raises the price of the sandwich. And you're really not getting much else. I like a good middle of the road provolone. We used to use Bel Gioioso in the store. I know at one point we had other brands, but that's a good provolone. Most provolones that they're fine. You can't really go wrong with that. And then for me, I like the hot peppers on the top of the sandwich. You close the sandwich up. You wrap the sandwich in paper. I like to have the sandwich sit for a few minutes. For me, that just I think it needs to kind of, I don't want to say marinate, that's not the right word, but it needs to kind of live in its own ecosystem there and pick up, everything kind of get together with the flavors. And it's just the way it is. I mean, this is not how I would construct an Italian sub. Not to say it wasn't bad. So they actually did use boar's head ham. The cheese they used was actually really good. Everything was sliced very thick. It was definitely Genoa salami, so you could see all the components are there. I'm pretty sure that they sliced the tomato and the lettuce there, but it was just execution was a little bit weird. So since I'm under a microscope here, and I put myself out there, this is what it is, getting online and actually, doing stuff. Now, Rory, so here's the thing. You've lived up here your whole life. So the only options for you probably have been pepperoncini or banana peppers. And those to me I would consider those very similar. We used to actually make a hot calabrese appetizer in the store that was like, I don't want to say like jalapenos, but it was like those types of peppers, like some of the more longer green peppers that we would roast, darker green peppers, and roast in there. Jeff, you got a good point. If you don't like the hot peppers, roasted red peppers are a good one. But I would say, going back to this, like if the options are pepperoncini or banana peppers, I would go with banana peppers. If at the place where I went the other day, the option was pepperoncini or jalapeno peppers, I had to go with jalapeno peppers, even though that's not the optimal for me. For me, jalapeno peppers, pickled jalapeno peppers, are not the right thing for an Italian sub. The peppers in my dad's store were nuts. We used to, that was very stressful making those roasted peppers. Dom and Jeff are on the same page in a good way. So I think I've kind of belabored the point on my end, and like I said, I'm on a microscope. So I'm going to bring on my first guest here, who has joined the stream, and apparently I don't know what is about to happen here. So you might want to brace yourself, because I might be getting flamed here. Here he is, your favorite, my favorite, Mr. Van Dominic.
It's not you that I have a problem with right now. You're like being defensive. It's not you. I was getting heated about the other stuff.
So like what? Like the pepperoncini?
Okay, we gotta address the tomato thing. Okay, we gotta stop. We have to stop with tomatoes. Like, tomatoes don't belong on anything ever. Okay, like, look, I'm gonna start this out by saying it's food. You get to do whatever you want. Everybody's unique, and you get to do your own stuff. Tomatoes are a waste of time, and they don't make any sense on a sandwich, especially an Italian sandwich, because if you think about it, by the end of an Italian sandwich, if it's good, you're going to have lettuce and onions for vegetable and for crunch. And if you're smart, you're going to put some kind of pepper on there. So between all of those, it's enough vegetable. The only thing that the tomato is going to do is it's going to make it soggy. It's disgusting, and it doesn't make any sense.
The other thing that I don't like about tomatoes is if the place splits the roll all the way through, like this place did, and they don't do the cut across and butterfly it open, by the middle of the sandwich, the tomatoes make it slippery, so that stuff falls out the back of it.
It doesn't make any sense. Like, oh my God, this delicious juicy burger with the crunchy lettuce and the creamy mayo, and then a slobbery wet piece of tomato. It's like wet. It's like a sliced wet thing that you just put on it. And what's the flavor of a tomato? So it doesn't make any sense.
That's another thing, is like, okay, if you're gonna get a nice like garden grown tomato, that's fine, but like most of the tomatoes that people use for sandwiches are not that.
Okay, can I also address a comment, please? Brian G over here. How are you, Italian Dom? First of all, Brian G talking about me being Italian, dude, let me tell you, you throw a tomato in a pot and you boil it up and you throw some noodles in it, I'm there all night. But you take an out of context, wet, like cold tomato and you throw it on top of my bread that gets soaked in 2 seconds, doesn't make any damn sense. Like, you gotta, like, the thing is that you gotta use your brain with these things. You gotta, like, it has to make sense. That doesn't make any sense.
So would you say that people are indoctrinated to ordering like tomatoes on sandwiches just because it's always an option?
Wait, say that again.
Do you think that people like have a tendency to order, like, do you think that, my question is, do you think that it's possible that people just don't really like the tomatoes, they just order it because it's always an option?
No, I think that, like, people just, personally, I think one of two things. Number one, I think that people like tomatoes, which makes me very angry. And number two, I think that people order it because, oh, lettuce, tomato, onion, blah, 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 right? Like, that's just what it is. Like, oh, what do you want on your burger? Lettuce, tomato, onion. But, like, I don't think that a lot of people have stopped to think, what the hell is the tomato doing in the equation? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense flavor-wise. It doesn't make sense, like, texture-wise. It doesn't make any damn sense.
I mean, yeah, I could see the point. I personally have been ordering the tomatoes, as far as like, just because it's always an option, and it's honestly easier just to say, because they always ask you lettuce, tomato, and like, yeah, sure.
You know what you say every single time. I've programmed it into my brain. Absolutely no tomato. It's the same way that I say no cilantro. You just know to say it.
Fair enough. So,
but here's the other problem that I have, to switch from the tomatoes, because Brian G is going to give me a heart attack over here. Okay. Yeah, okay, Brian Gio in the comments, the vast majority of the sandwich eating world eats tomatoes on sandwiches. Yeah, the vast majority of people do a lot of dumb stuff. That's my point, is that you have to be the person that says, you know what? That's dumb, and I'm going to change it. Those are the people who have change the world. The people who have thought like that. Okay? The most of the world is dumb. The people who like arugula, dumb. Horrible people. These are the types of people that are controlling everything. Now, speaking of which, the other problem that I have that I was getting heated with in the comments are the people who are like hollowing out bread. I'm not going to pick on anyone specific, but hollowing out bread.
Yeah, I don't
It's
I
a
don't think
loaf
there's
of
anybody
bread.
specific to pick out on that one. Like
But what are
that's
you?
just a
You're
general
worried about the
comment, but
bread?
yeah.
But like, oh, you're worried about the amount of bread. First of all, what are we afraid of bread? Like, ooh, not too much. And then the other problem is like it doesn't make any sense. Like, here's a piece of bread. Let me just take some out of it. It's like here's like a sunny side up egg. Let me scoop the yolk out of the middle of it. Like, what is it? What's the point of doing that?
Yeah, like I can see doing it for the construction. Like if you have like something that's like way too thick, like sure, fine, take out a little bit of the bread. But like if you're gonna do lettuce, tomato, oil, and vinegar, the bread needs to be there so you could soak it up.
By the way, Rory is the worst. I'm gonna just say it right now, like not to be controversial. Rory is the worst. It's been 20 years and he's still the worst. So that's just my comment on that. Sorry, anybody who's watching. There's a commenter, a non-anonymous commenter in the chat that's always really entertaining. It's changing my life. Anyway, so yeah, so the bread thing is I'm sick of it.
Wow, emptying out the bread.
Yeah.
So what about the meats? Like what like if you got a sandwich where they slapped on the meat like that, like what because okay, so we worked together. This is my brother. We worked in my dad's shop, so we've kind of been trained to make them kind of similar. So like what do you think about like the laying stuff out like that and folding it like, you know what I mean?
Hold on, I have to kick Rory out. Hold on.
We have moderators, so if you don't behave yourself, you get kicked.
Yeah. Rory's gone forever. So I hope you guys enjoyed his comments because he's gone forever. So sorry, what was the question?
What about like slapping the meats on like, piled
No,
like
so
that?
so I still do that actually. So like you have to kind of like bunch up the meat a little bit because if it's too you can't just like put slices on top of slices like that.
To me, it's like I can just make that at home if I'm gonna do that. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, you know what it is though, when you bunch up the meat, it adds texture to the sandwich. So it's not like
yeah,
just like
it gives you something to bite through.
yeah.
All right, so let's talk about this like roasted peppers versus hot peppers. So like I know I just like hot stuff, so I always go for a hot pepper component. But what about like like because you and Jeff seem to be pretty adamant about the roasted peppers.
Yeah, so I I think that I agree with you about the jalapenos. I think when you get like a really vinegary pepper, I don't think that's good. I think that it's good if it's like a roasted pepper, something that's more like olive oily. So like something like a hot pepper with olive oil or like roasted peppers and things like that. I mean, pepperoncini's fine, but I would prefer something a little bit more oily on that.
So one of the things, I don't know if you remember, because I wanted to bring this up on the stream. They don't have it on the menu anymore, but do you remember when Panera had an Italian sandwich on their menu?
Yeah, what was that? I forgot what it was.
So it was roast beef, turkey, and Swiss cheese.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing I wanted to mention. The idea of turkey, like turkey shouldn't be on an Italian sub ever. Like that's not an Italian sub.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's I think that it's a mixture though, because like some of the stuff that Dad was saying was right too. Like I think that if you made the sandwich the way that Dad the way that you listed it before, like Dad's version, yeah, that's gonna be like a $50 sandwich. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, if you walked into Delilicious and ordered that sandwich, like, there's no way you're walking out of there with less than $30. You know,
Um,
but like, but if you look at it, okay, so like we used to also make a special Italian combo in the store, which was ham, mortadella, salami, Genoa salami, provolone, and like cured capicola. So he's saying prosciutto, so that's kind of like your ham component, capicola, okay, supersata, which is your salami, mortadella, and sharp provolone. I mean, that to me sounds awesome, but it's a little bit more than what I would want in, you know.
yeah, but you could do a mixture though. You could do like some like just like some ham with some salami and maybe like you throw on like mortadella or something like that. I mean, I would probably put pepperoni on there, but
Yeah. So that sub that I got, that I showed the picture of, they had salami and pepperoni, which I thought is pretty good. For me, pepperoni is the same thing as salami.
yeah, but
It's
it's a
just
little it's got like a little bit more of a kick. Like instead of super sod, I would probably put pepperoni on there. What?
no, just looking at my phone
Why?
just to see, because I'm getting drama texts.
Yeah, good.
Thanks a lot. You started a drama with the king troll.
Yeah.
Um. Anyway,
That's what
so
happens.
you're
Anything can happen live, right?
that's true. Anything can happen, and it did. Everything happened.
Yeah.
Um. So here's the deal.
Yeah.
You're in New York City right now. So I honestly was never in a position where I've ordered an Italian sub in New York City. Is there anything about that experience that, like, have you ever been burned by an Italian sub in New York City? Like,
No.
have you gotten good ones? Have you gotten crappy ones?
Yeah,
Like,
no,
what's
it's pretty it's actually pretty standard to the way that we used to make it in the store, like ham, salami, provolone, lettuce, onion oil, and vinegar, tomato. And I just want to say, I don't know if Brian G is still here. I was kidding with how passionate I was getting about it. Like, I really do. I wasn't kidding. I hate tomatoes, and I think that like that they don't belong on anything. But if you want to put tomatoes on your sub, I'm not like whatever. Like it's fine. Like everybody's got to relax a little bit, including me. But no. It's like the same thing here as Dad's store. It's just like the standard like provolone, salami, ham. I think sometimes they'll add like I don't know. Depending on the deli that you go to, they'll add like gabagool and prosciutto and stuff like that. But prosciutto, I feel like, is a separate thing. Sometimes I've gotten Italian subs with prosciutto on it, but I feel like a prosciutto sandwich, then you're starting to go into a whole nother realm.
so? What do you make of this whole thing? The main version of the sandwich, where they're putting green bell peppers.
Oh, bell peppers is like bell peppers is another thing. Sorry, I don't want to make you lose even more of your friends here, so I won't do another a hot take.
No, it's you know what?
But
These are people that weathered the 2016 to 2020 era. If they can't take being bounced for,
oh no, he
making.
was bounced because he was bounced because he deserved to be bounced. But the Brian G thing, I feel bad. If he wants tomatoes, I'll send him a couple tomatoes if you're still here, Brian G. But the bell peppers are like another thing where I'm just like that bell peppers shouldn't be on anything. I mean, especially like if you have lettuce on there, what's the pepper doing for you at that point?
So for me, I actually went I one day had to get a sandwich at Price Chopper, and I was eating this thing, and I'm biting through it, and I'm like, is this like raw green bell pepper? Like, what's the deal with, like, why would you put that on a sandwich? But then I thought about it, and like the sliced bell pepper is an option at Subway. So it's like, yeah, I guess I understand, but like, you know,
Um, yeah, the bell pepper thing, I feel like it's it's something that's like, if you want to dip it in something afterwards, I feel like that's better. Like if you want to like have like a bell peppers in like some ranch as like a side of your sandwich, I think that makes more sense.
I was supposed to have another person come on, but they haven't joined yet.
Did I boot him out accidentally?
No. Nope, you did not. All right. So let's get back to the original thing here. The other thing is I kind of have this theory that like you can't eat a sub directly after you make it. What do you say about that whole theory? Am I just overthinking that?
I think you're overthinking it. It's fine. I mean, I see what you mean. You want things to like marinade. I don't know. Just mix the stuff together, you eat it.
Yeah, but you don't mix it together. It's sitting there, you know?
Is it? Like what, you want it to like soak into the bread?
Yeah. I mean, it has to a little bit, right? Like otherwise, like because you didn't hollow out the bread.
I don't know. The thing is that the longer, I don't want it to get more and more soggy. So like for me, I don't want the things to seep into it too much. Like I just want it to be like a sprinkle over the vegetables, and then like you put it together, and then you go and then you eat it. Like
I always actually that's a good point. I always order light oil and vinegar because I hate when it's like so soaked that like you can't even eat it. You know what I mean?
yeah, the oil and vinegar thing. You know what I do sometimes, which is kind of weird. I'll do like oil and vinegar on the side, and I'll like dip the sandwich in oil and vinegar as I go, like bite per bite. That's how I do like hot sauce too. Like I won't put hot sauce on the sandwich. I'll like take a sandwich and dip it.
Yeah, but like, is that an option where you go? Like, I've never been
No,
able
I
to
just do it. I just do it myself. Like, or like if I make a sandwich at home, like I'll like make like a little ramekin of oil and vinegar.
Yeah, but what if you're getting lunch at work or something?
Well, yeah, then in that case, I just whatever they serve me. I'm not gonna like. I don't start making my own vat of oil and vinegar.
I got Keith on the stream here. I'll pull him in. All right, guys. So we got another guest joining. Like I said, you never know what's going to happen here. It looks like he might be joining us from Yankee Stadium.
No,
Metal Frog.
real? Oh wow, he is in.
Yo, what's up, guys? How's it going? What's happening?
Metal Frog.
So I don't know if you've been watching, but we had a little bit of drama here tonight.
That's not Yankee
Some
Stadium.
drama. What happened?
Somebody had to be bounced.
Get out of here. No.
Guess who? Guess who?
I'm going to guess it's an RG.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know. Real gangster.
All right. So here's the deal. We were talking about Italian subs, and I know you said you wanted to get in on the action. So it sounds like you might have some strong opinions about this. So I want to hear what you have to say on this.
All right. So first of all, this goes with every sub, but most of all, the bread. If the bread is bad, it's a bad sub. It's got to go. It's got to be fresh Italian, and it's got to be nice and soft, but you toast it to get the crispy outside.
Nice.
And then the cold cuts have to be cut fresh. You can't do any of this, go to the fridge and pull out meat and cheese out of plastic wrappers. No, it's got to be cut on a slicer, made to order. And then you got to go classic Italian. You got to go capicola, Genoa salami, pepperoni, provolone cheese. No veggies. Get that crap out of here.
Okay, see, he's worse than me. He's even worse than me.
No veggies. We got to do a little oil vinaigrette, though. Get the bread a little bit more moist, get a little flavor, and that's it. Nothing else, nothing less.
So not even like a little bit of tomato?
Get out of here, tomato.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny about the vegetable thing? I never actually even thought about that, because I think that like, where did like the lettuce, tomato, onion stuff come from? Is that a New York thing?
I don't know, man.
It probably is a thing where they were like, okay, we could stretch it out with a little bit of this stuff.
That's true. That's true. I could see that being.
That's true. And they're probably the cheapest ingredients they got behind the counter too, right? So they can turn it around for a profit.
Well, because like when you go to Italy, like a panini like is like equal parts bread and meat, and it's very thin. Like so, if you go back to that definition, we're way past that, you know.
But also think about how much it cheapens the sandwich if you think about the rest of the ingredients. Like assuming that you're talking about like a real Italian sub where like the cold cuts are like really expensive cold cuts and sharp cheese, like extra virgin olive oil. Think about the idea of what like lettuce does to cheapen the sandwich. Like the idea of like, let me put all of this on top of a bed of iceberg lettuce.
Right.
It's true though, but like you can also think about it like this. You got an entire loaf of bread and you got probably somewhere close to a half a pound of meat. Like
that's fair too.
You know,
that's fair too. But like I never understood what the vegetables add to the sub though.
So I always thought that it just adds crunchiness, because the problem that I have with a sandwich that's just meat is like it's literally just like a pile of meat that you're eating. And at least if you put like the lettuce, then you're like, it's adding kind of different texture, so you get like crunchiness to it. But like, I don't know, there's something about like, as much as I love like eating meat, but like there's something about like biting into like a pile of layered meat with nothing else. I don't know.
Well, that also goes back to the thickness of the cut too, right? Because they got to cut it nice and thin. Because you don't want to have a chunk of meat that you're just biting into, right? And you got to have the different layers. So there's some nuance to it, some flavor, some texture differences that way.
So but Keith, are you able to see the screen?
I can see the screen, yeah.
Okay, let me share something.
Okay.
So that you could, because I think you might have missed this part.
All right, go back.
This is the sub that's in the review on Saturday.
Okay. All right.
What are your first impressions of that based on what you see?
So it's interesting. The cheese is on the bottom.
Yeah.
And then it goes to meat, and then the veggies on top.
Yeah.
That seems backwards, right? Like it's usually the other way around.
Yeah.
So you'd almost want to eat this flipped up, side down. So you got the top on the bottom, and you take a bite.
Okay. Anything else jump out at you?
I don't know how I feel about the bread. How was the bread?
Actually, out of everything on that sandwich, probably good. Very good.
I was gonna say, was that the best part of the sub? Because that's a bad look if the bread's the best part.
Yeah, well, I mean, so what I didn't like about it, and I go into it a little bit more in the review. The meat sliced way too thick, and the cheese.
Oh yeah, you're right. I can see that now. The cheese is like a 1/4 inch thick, man.
Well, that's 2 slices. It's hard to tell because it's a little overexposed.
Okay, all right. Well, all right.
Yeah.
I don't know. How much was it? Do you mind telling me how much the sub was?
Actually, I didn't even talk about that in the review. It was $10.99.
It's not bad for a full sub. It was a full one, right? Yeah. It's not bad.
Man, what it is to not live in New York City. You don't even know.
I know. What would that cost you down there? Like $20, right?
For like a sub, like a long sub of an Italian sandwich.
Yeah.
I mean, what would it cost? Like $16 at least, like $18 for like an actual like fresh bread Italian sub. Like it's ridiculous. And then if you want to get like one of those sandwiches, like the kind of like the Katz's Deli style, like pastrami, we're talking like $25-30 at least.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a thing.
So is the Italian always your go-to? Is that like the main sub that you get? Because it's usually mine. It's usually my go-to.
That's a really good question. I like the Italian sub, but I'm usually not really in the mood for it if I get subs. I don't know. It's because there's too many things that can go wrong. What I really like, and this is kind of like, I've liked it since I was in high school, just like turkey and American cheese with mayo. Like that's my sub.
You know what's funny?
It's going simple.
So like Italian sub is my favorite sub, but I don't eat them often because like there's not enough water in the world to hydrate me if I was eating Italian subs all the time. But like my go-to sandwich now is usually like turkey, ham, and coleslaw. Like that's been like my new thing. And then a lot of the times they put like Swiss cheese or something on it. But like that's like been my, or like sometimes I'll get like a wrap. You guys do wraps? I get wraps all the time. Sometimes
I
I'll
don't
get
do wraps. I don't do wraps. But it's funny because I always think of like the Italian sub as my sub, but like you guys said, I only get it like once in a blue moon. What I usually get is a meatball sub.
That's
And
another favorite of mine.
Right down the street from me, we got this place, Deli and Brew, where they make their own bread. They cut cold cuts to order, and they make their own meatballs every day. So you layer some pepperoni on the bottom, put the meatballs in the sauce. You do some hot peppers on top.
Pepperoni on
It's
the bottom?
delicious.
You put pepperoni?
Delicious.
Hold on, you put pepperoni on the bottom.
Pepperoni with the meatballs and then the hot peppers.
Can I ask you a question?
It's amazing.
I want to ask Jerry a question. We grew up in a deli for half our lives. We never thought to put pepperoni on a meatball sub.
You know why? So like, and like we talked about this. We were discouraged from so many things just because it wasn't how it was classically done.
Right.
You know, like we used to. So for a long period of time, the what do you call it? We used to have in the same plaza as my dad. You could walk to like a New York style kosher delicatessen, and we couldn't go there because they were considered competition.
That's funny. That's funny.
You know.
Yeah, and
you know,
like,
that was one of those things where I was just standing there one day and I was like, "Can I put some pepperoni on this meatball sub?" And they're like, "Sure, why not?" So they cut it and they put it in there, and that's been my go-to.
It looks like we have a new guest who said, "I may have stumbled onto this live, but the discussion is actually very interesting. Thank you for sharing your intelligence, fellas, and boycotting veggies." Thanks a lot for that.
Yeah.
We were thinking maybe the drama was a little bit of a downer, but I think seeing comments like that are uplifting are a lot of fun.
See, now I got to go back and watch.
you know what the funny? It's just, you know, I don't know. But anyway, the thing with meatball subs is that you do have to get a little kind of crazy with them. Sometimes you throw some you ever throw like fresh onions on a meatball sub? You should try it. It's good.
That doesn't
I'm
sound
into that idea. I'm into
No,
it.
it's good. It adds some crunch, and then it's onions, which is an ingredient in the
Onions
meatball.
are always good.
Yeah.
You know what's really funny? You mentioned the meatball sub. There's this channel I watch called Mythical Kitchen, and just this morning, the guy made. He basically said, "I'm going to fix every problem with a meatball hero." And what he did was basically made meatball like on the shawarma, like you would make a gyro, and he put mozzarella in between. So like when you slice it off, all the edges are like the outside of the meatball, and you don't get it rolling out of the back of the sandwich.
Yeah, that's a lot of work for something that simple.
Yeah, well, you know, YouTube can do that. People on YouTube can do that.
The production value.
Keith, so I've never actually been to that Deli and Brew place. So when we run out of hot dog places, we got to go there.
Dude, you know what's awesome too? They do slow baked wings. So it takes like an hour to bake the wings. So you got to call like an hour ahead of time, but they put them through and they do a nice long bake. So like they get really extra crispy, but they're still moist inside. They're awesome. They got great wings there.
We got to try that too.
Yeah,
Brian
so
G,
chicken
parm subs are very good.
Honestly, chicken parm I feel like is like that. I think that there's the Trinity, right? Which is, well, first of all, Jerry, there's chicken parm, there's veal parm. But chicken parm, meatball, and eggplant parm. Now the thing with eggplant parm, I know Jerry's gonna be like, I hate eggplant parm, but like I feel like eggplant parm is another eggplant parm, if it's really good, is good. But no, I mean chicken parm is basically like I would say like if I go to like some kind of pizzeria and I get a sandwich, it's either going to be meatball parm or chicken parm.
Yeah,
most of the time.
I chicken parm is just legendary. But there's a trend. So might be a topic for a future live. But I've been noticing that even places that make chicken parm dinners, actually, like if you order a chicken parm sub, they don't give you the same chicken that's in their dinner. They put like chicken tenders on.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that too.
That's a good idea.
I mean, it's a good idea, but it's like I want a little bit more of a cutlet. With
so it's like deep fried chicken tenders, just covered in sauce with cheese on top, right? Yeah.
Actually, I
There's
never even
nothing
thought
wrong
of
with it, but like if you have a chicken parm dinner on the menu and it's not that, then it's you know what I mean. There's no reason.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I'm with you. I'm with you.
what did I get the other day? I got I got some kind of chicken. I got to tell you this story later. I'm going to forget about it now, but I ordered something the other day that was really really off. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I would mind if somebody gave me a chicken parm sub with like fried chicken tenders instead of a cutlet. I don't know if I even notice. I'd probably be like, this is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's not bad, but it's not like if you go to a place and you order it, like you want the chicken to be the same chicken. There's no reason why it shouldn't be.
Oh, I know what happened. It's when I went over for WrestleMania last month. When we ordered from that place, I went over to Jerry's for WrestleMania last month, and we ordered from, what was it, a Thai place, or was just kind of like had like a bunch of different styles.
It's a Thai. It's what was it called? It's a Thai place that
Yeah.
has multiple styles.
So like I ordered orange chicken, and what do you think of, Keith, when if I say to you orange chicken?
I figure like just normal like tempura chicken with some orange sauce, right?
Right, but like you think of like more like a sesame chicken, like the little balls of like chicken.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So like they gave it to me, and it was like sliced chicken cutlets, like with like orange sauce, which again, it was good, but like that I was not expecting. Like if you order
Yeah.
orange chicken, I was not
Yeah.
expecting like a sliced chicken cutlet.
That's funny.
But
So the other thing before we wrap up this conversation on Italian subs and subs in general, I guess now, there was a comment on a video yesterday, Keith, that you left.
Yeah, man. I said the star of the Oreo video was Dom's hair
why?
because you look like a stud, man. You got the Travolta sideburns going. You
That's
got
true.
grease over.
Yeah.
Look like you put some effort into it. It looked nice, man.
You know what's funny that Jerry brought that up now when literally my hair, like I've
I
just
know.
been like,
I know.
like,
Yeah.
but
Well,
Well, I mean, it's because I shave all mine off, so like I got nothing. So like when I see a hairdo, I gotta compliment it. You
I'm
know.
very envious.
I wanted to double down on the drama tonight, guys. I
Please don't. You know what? Honestly, just going back to that, honestly, like, you know, he said something that I had to hide. So if it got to that point, then you know he's got to go. Like if you know, nobody should ever be mean. Like you know, I give people crap about stuff, and like you know, like oh, like we're all gonna bust each other's chops. But like if you're like, I'm not gonna be like mean. Like if you like arugula, then you like arugula. Whatever. I hate it. Maybe I'll get hot about it. But like I'm not gonna be mean about you. Like you don't need to go for the jugular. If somebody's gonna go for the jugular in this stuff, then they should just leave because that's not what this is about.
Well, I mean, there's a certain part of it that, if you're going to be on screen and you're going to be participating in something, like there's a performance aspect to it. So like, if you don't get that and you really think that people are serious with everything they say all the time.
I mean, you got to think of the topic too. Like we're talking about sandwiches right now. Like obviously, like it's not that big of a deal. I mean, yeah, I'm very passionate about, the scooping out the bread and all this kind of stuff, but like we're all just having a good time over here. We're all friends except
except some of us.
Yeah, except some of us.
He said something. He said something that needed to be deleted, and it was deleted.
All good. Well, guys,
what are you gonna do, man?
Nothing.
What?
All you can do is keep ordering subs with no veggies. That's the best thing. That's the main takeaway. No veggies. Just get the meat and the cheese.
What
get some dressing. Get out of line.
Sub? That was one thing I forgot to bring up. What do you guys think of putting like a little bit of layer of mayo on there?
I mean,
the mayo's not my thing. It's too goopy.
I don't see
like a thin layer.
I don't think it needs it. I mean, you have so much like fat in all the meats. Why do you need the mayonnaise? Like,
I mean, that's not one of my concerns, but
no, but you know what I mean. Like, I feel like that, like it's almost like the mayonnaise is gonna take away from. Like, just give me some extra prosciutto fat. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I'm down for that. Down for that.
The funny thing is, like, if you go to Jimmy John's, like mayonnaise is like, if you get the Italian sub, it has mayonnaise, lettuce, tomato, and then the meats, and then they call it sauce, which is oil and vinegar. But the
That's
It's funny,
hilarious.
like nobody bats an eye at somebody calling something like that sauce, but when they talk about gravy versus sauce, people are all heated.
Yeah, okay. You're gonna need to do a whole nother live.
That's another
for that,
live, yeah. That's another
because
live.
you don't even want to know. I'm like seriously, like I'm gonna just burn the rest of the bridges.
So we got to triple down on the drama here. Dad's in here in the chat. You guys, no mayonnaise. Now he's embarrassed. We literally
No, but I said no. We said no mayonnaise though, so he's embarrassed.
At least they're not hurting the family business anymore, right?
Yeah,
don't
no,
worry.
that business is long gone.
Yeah,
So you don't got to worry about getting people turned away at the door.
No, only on this live stream.
yeah. Hey, look, you made me a moderator. If you want me to do my job, then
That's it.
job well done. So
You did
Yeah,
the job.
if you're not going to moderate, then you're not even a moderator. So you got to do what you got to do.
I mean, this is not Facebook. We're not arguing about trivial things here.
Yeah, this is all very serious business. Very.
Brian G, I apologize to my whole ancestry here. Yeah, I don't know.
We got to get Dad on this live.
You think that I'm bad? If you got Dad on this live, he'd be booting everybody out of here. You know what's actually funny? I just thought about it. So, like, just a little anecdote about our dad's store. It's almost fitting that I booted somebody out of this because my father's signature was kicking people out of the store. So this was like very fitting. This is like when when people would act up, it was like an old school. It was very like, you go in there and it was like, they were always polite and nice and stuff like that, but it was old school. So like if the customers started to become a little like, what's the word? Like, I don't know what the word is, like too much, they would just be booted.
If there were too many questions, or
no sub for you. Brian G just wrote in the chat, no sub for you. That's exactly that's literally what it was like.
Yeah.
Like not exactly like, it's not like people had to completely tiptoe, but I'll tell you right now, back in the 90s, you had a cell phone, you better get out of the store with it because they wouldn't tolerate that.
Yeah.
Which is honestly how it should be, right? Still now.
I mean, I agree with you to a point. If it's affecting the other customers, I think there's a nice little middle ground.
Yeah, and the other thing was, like, when people used to ask too many questions, or like if somebody ordered this sandwich, right? So let me pull it up. My dad's original sandwich, and you rang it up and they said, okay, it's $30 or whatever. We should actually calculate it based on the last prices when we worked in the store. Like the person complained, they wouldn't complete the transaction.
Well, I mean, it's a business. I got a price, you pay it or you don't get it. That's it. Get out of the way. That's how it's got to be. I'm not at some flea market. I'm not doing bargaining on my. We're not going to barter on my sub. You got to pay me for the ingredients. Get out of here.
And the funny thing is, I think for the most part, the prices were fair. This is before. Well, I worked there before the Food Network movement, where now everything is available in supermarkets that we used to get there. But like, to be an independent purveyor of those types of meats and cheeses in the late 90s, early 2000s, before those types of movements, I think the prices were fair. I mean, personally,
you got a lot of overhead, right? Because you got to import and pay tax on all that, and
it wasn't the type of place that you would go to like casually. Like, some people did go there casually, but like when you went to that store, you knew that you were going to pay for a quality item. So most of the time, like, people who knew, like, were like, yeah, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna pay for a sub, kind of a thing. Oh my god.
Yeah.
You know what? That's let me just tell you something. I know that in our family, tattoos are a no-no. I'm getting that tattooed on my arm. I earned the right to choose my customer. Oh my god.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing. Like, it wasn't a common thing there, and we had a specialty thing, and people who didn't understand would come in, and they were out of their element sometimes, and sometimes they needed to know that.
Well, it wasn't totally that they're out, because if they were out of their element, then it would be they would try to be brought into their element, and if they could not get in their element in time, that's when they would get it.
All right. Well, guys, thanks so much for joining the stream. I am going to wrap it up in just a minute here.
Jerry, I'm going to do the De Niro here. Sorry.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do, You got
That's the motto to live life by. You got to do what you got to do.
All right, dudes. Thanks for joining.
I'll talk to you later.
So we got to the bottom of it. I told you I have some pretty strong opinions on everything that goes into an Italian sub. I'm going to talk about it a little bit more in the video this weekend. Now, it's a regular mainline channel video, so it's kind of got some quick editing. It's a lot of fun. Met up with another guy here who does sandwich reviews. He's a younger guy, also went to Siena College. His name is Brian Gregory, and he posted his review to Instagram, and I shared that in my stories and on Facebook. And what I'll do is I'll link it in this video here afterwards, so you can come back to this video, go into the description, and you could see the video that Brian G made for his channel. And then come back Saturday morning. First thing, it'll be the review going up. It is Primal, your local butcher. We ordered an Italian sub, and it wasn't perfect, but it was actually very good. So you'll want to make sure that you see that. The Brian G in the chat is going to really like this video because he is more or less referenced in it. And that is pretty much all I'm going to say about that. Looks like we have more people joining this stream at this point, which is actually pretty amazing. But I really hope that you guys enjoy that. Oh, the other thing is I have a whole playlist now on Italian subs. It looks like I think this is going to be number 75 dining review for the channel. So I can separate them into subsets. So I have like a seafood one. I have a hot dog one, which I've been populating with Keith, who was just on the stream. I have an Italian sub one. I have a pizza one. So we got these cool little playlists that you could binge in a sitting, which is a lot of fun. I really enjoy doing this for the channel, and doing these streams also to interact with the community. Sometimes people just got to be booted from the chat, and we don't like when that happens. Sometimes people just can't be with us. We gotta be conscious of how we behave in the forums that we are interacting on. But thanks so much for joining the live stream tonight, guys. If I have another topic to talk about next Thursday, it'll be same time, same place. And if not, then there won't be a stream. But I will let you guys know on social media. Turn on notifications and subscribe here, and you'll know as soon as the stream is posted online. That's the best way to get the notifications, because social media, you can't guarantee you're going to get notified. So thanks a lot for joining. I really hope you had a good time. I had a good time. So